Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Redden, therapeutic coach of SRTT, and today I'm joined by Amanda Joy, who's not only been a therapist for over 20 years. She's opened the Northern College of Clinical Hypnotherapy in 2020, where she's the Director of Studies, and she's also the host of Wednesday Wellbeing show, which I've been fortunate enough to guest on, and the Tuesday Vibes show. Welcome, Amanda.
Hello.
Hello.
It's so lovely to be on your show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. Now, I know you've had a wonderfully rich career of helping others heal, and you've got an absolute passion for sharing knowledge and solutions through your school and the work that you do, as well as like healing, hope and joy that you share on the podcast and the radio show and your book. So there is so much that we can talk about today. But I would like to start, if you feel comfortable, would you like to start with sharing some of your personal healing story?
Yeah, I'd love to, because it's really my own personal healing journey that kind of carved out this weird and wonderful journey of sharing the message of healing and sharing different tools and now teaching people how to become clinical hypnotherapists. It's my own journey that's really kind of helped me to be this person I am now. And so I struggled in school. I got very badly bullied in primary school and secondary school. I think I had a bit of a victim mentality, if I'm honest. I kind of didn't feel like I was enough, and I didn't have a great deal of confidence. So, and I thought every day if I just went home and cried to my mummy, she'd make it better, and it didn't work like that. So school was tough. People say these are the best years of your life. They really weren't for me, Sarah. They were awful.
No.
And then I went from school to college, and when I got to college, it was noticed. They picked up that I had some reading and writing difficulties, and I did like an educational assessment. Went to a special education centre where they got me to do things with shapes and colours and write things and listen to things and copy numbers down and all that kind of stuff. And I was diagnosed as having visual dyslexia, which basically means that sometimes when I read things, I don't take it in. There's a bit of a missing link between what I'm reading and what I'm processing, and I see things in a slightly different way. I'm kind of neurodiverse, which it actually benefits me now.
Yeah.
I
try not to interrupt you because it's so interesting. I discovered in my 30s that I was dyslexic, and very much I pick the world apart in different ways, which is absolutely a skill in the work that we do, I think. And it's so interesting for me, it was so interesting when I realized that I had this like superpower that other people don't have. But with that comes some of the things that other people can find very easy. Like I found that my writing process, I do about 30 steps where someone who is neurotypical would do 5. And that was very difficult for me, and still is. So back to you. I'm
just very grateful for audio recordable, it types up your voice type technology that we have now, because that really does help me. But so I was put in this class, special class that I was told was gonna help me with my reading and writing challenges, and it would enable me to do my course in health and social care and enable me to become either a physiotherapist or a nurse. Those were the kind of areas that I was kind of really interested in working in. As a child, I'd always felt that I was, drawn to the healing arts. I had a vision as a child it was at Sunday school, and I had a vision at Sunday school of Jesus, and I was kind of sitting with some other children, and Jesus invited me to sit on his knee and said, "You're going to be a healer." And I remember going home after Sunday school and saying, "I'm going to be a healer, Mum." And she was like, "Okay, dear." But our Sunday school might have been a bit different to other Sunday schools, but I did have this kind of quite strong Christian upbringing, which when I got to that age, when I was in that special needs class, I rejected my faith completely. It was restrictive and I hated it. And I hated anybody who wanted to tell me that God was love when, I didn't really see that in the people who were representing the churches that I certainly was involved with. And I was in this special needs group, and I was sat, and I don't mean to be offensive by this at all, but I was sat next to somebody who had a visual impairment. There was a couple of kids in that group, because I was a kid myself then, a couple of young people in that group who had Down syndrome and other quite severe learning disabilities. People were given a carer to attend the group with. And I turned up to this group and I thought, really?
Yeah, because it sounds like you were at a completely different stage of need. Yeah.
Is this how bad it is?
Yeah.
Is this where I really am? Is this where I really need to be? It had a huge negative impact on my confidence in my ability to learn. And from that point onwards, I really went on a very destructive kind of path. I hung out with lots of musicians and artists and rock stars, and really embraced taking drugs and drinking and partying, and dropped out of college. And I did somehow end up being a nurse. I don't quite know how I ended up doing that, but I did end up being a nurse. I kind of went at it through a vocational route. And I ended up working with people who were quadriplegic and ventilated. All the way along this time, I was still drinking and partying and abusing, because drugs and alcohol for me were a great pain reliever. And all of that pain and trauma of the bullying and the lack of confidence and not feeling comfortable in my own skin, that I was as a result of my upbringing and my childhood and my adolescence. I carried that with me and didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to fix myself. And I think I did eventually get on a how can I fix myself journey, which has kind of led me to where I am now. But I got into nursing, and all my clients were quadriplegic and ventilated. But many of my patients had neurological pain, had physical pain in their bodies, but they shouldn't have, because you've got a spinal injury, you've got no signals going through that spinal cord. How come you're in pain? What's that all about? They were very confusing to medical practitioners who couldn't understand that pain is just a signal. It tells you that something's not right. And that pain may be physical, but that may have an emotional quality to it as well as a physical quality to it. So what we were doing as medical practitioners, as a nurse, was I was giving massive quantities of opioid-based medications to my patients. And one day, this one particular patient said to me, when you give me that pain medication, it doesn't stop me from feeling pain. It stops me from being able to tell you that I'm feeling pain. Wow. And I was like, that's exactly what I did. I went, I did not get into nursing or care work to gag people, to stop them from expressing their discomfort. I got into nursing because I really wanted to care for people. And that's really where my nursing career started to come to an end.
I mean, as you said it, I've got tears in my eyes. It felt like that's not what you come into any kind of caring profession to hear, is it?
No, and
you come in it to heal.
You do. And after more budget cuts and other such things, I did eventually leave the NHS. But before I did, I got the opportunity to train in NLP, and I got the opportunity to train in Reiki. It was actually, we were looking for something, it was alternative medicine as opposed to integrative medicine as we know it now. But I went to Barclays Bank because I was told there was a healer worked at Barclays Bank. And I was like, anybody in this bank a healer? And this lady said, actually, I'm a Reiki master. And I was like, could you come and do some healing on one of my patients, please, because I've heard you're really good. And I did actually see what I can only describe as a miracle that day. That lady came in to the hospital room where we were, and she laid her hands on the head of the patient that I was working with, the patient that had actually said, when you give me this medication, it just dumbs me up. And the pain that he experienced was like being stabbed in the chest with red hot pokers. So that's not nice.
No, not at all.
And he wasn't able to sleep well, and he wasn't able to rest, and he was just in this constant state of anxiety and stress and pain, and really not in a very good place mentally, and had no physical movement, was just trapped in pain. It was horrific. Yeah. And I saw her, she put her hands on his head, and the pain, just you can see pain in people's face. The pain drained out of his face. His skin tone changed colour, and he drifted off into the most blissful sleep and had absolutely no pain, nothing at all, for 3 full days afterwards, which at that time was an absolute miracle. And I was like, what is it that you do? What's it all about? And she told me about energy medicine, and that kind of put me on my journey to go become a Reiki master myself, to study energy medicine. And I studied traditional Chinese medicine. I got really into sort of body work, energy work, massage therapies. And of course, I trained in NLP as well, because that was the other thing that really, really worked, using the power of the mind to turn down, to switch off discomfort in the body. And it was just so amazing to kind of come from this very Western background, where the only solutions are medications, or maybe some physio or some exercise, but nobody had ever suggested to me that we might actually be more than just, muscles and bones, that we might be an energetic quality to us. And this just blew my mind, and it really took me on this incredible journey.
And what a really powerful introduction to like energy healing. I mean, I'm into all of that, and similarly to you, I've done the training, and I know we've talked before, there's similar background in the things, different, but there's similarities. Like I've done the body work and the Reiki, and so you see all these links, and then it's brought me to the mind, and you're saying like about the NLP. So at what point did you kind of tap into the hypnotherapy?
Well, it was really when I started sort of using it on myself. So I had all this knowledge and had all this information and had all this stuff. And I'd lived in Buddhist temples and done meditation and studied the mind and studied mindfulness and the benefits of it while I was doing my psychology degree. And I, did all this other work while I was doing counselling work. And I was just like forever a student, basically, Sarah. Forever learning, totally. I love learning. And while I was doing all this stuff, I was continuing to live this really almost quite secretive, crazy lifestyle of binge drinking and using drugs. That really began to spiral out of control when I started mixing it with prescribed medications as well. So lots and lots of prescribed medications from lots of different doctors, followed by lots and lots of alcohol and cannabis, and cocaine was also a favorite of mine, because I took coke so I could drink more. Right. And it was a daily occurrence, that I would get up, I would take prescription medication so I could get to work. And I was teaching at the time. And don't ask me how I did it, but you just kind of do when you're in that kind of state. You just get through it, and it's really not a pleasant world to live in. And
a real disconnect between what you're intellectually learning and experiencing with your training, and then how you're living your life is not marrying up, really, is it?
It was a huge disconnect. I'd completely lost a sense of who I was by this point. It was just it just spun really out of control. I was hanging out with really dodgy people. I was going to very dangerous places, and my earring keeps falling out, which is hilarious. I'll show it back in. And it was all a bit mental, really. And I was dying. My skin was turning yellow. I'd gone blind in one eye. I was a size 28. My kidneys were in a really poor state. And I had developed this autoimmune disorder called hidradenitis suppurativa, HS, because it's a big long name, where your body gets covered in boils. And I had these massive cricket ball, egg-sized boils all over my body, in my armpits, on my breasts, between my legs. I could barely walk some days. And, they were filled with horrible, nasty, green, smelly, oozy pus. And that's how I lived. Yeah. And I was just drinking and partying and, dealing with all of these sores. And just, the doctor sort of said to me, I give you 3 months. Wow. And we're going to need to have some serious medical intervention. Someone needs to stop. And I never saw that doctor again because I didn't like what he said.
Yeah, so, and that's what I was going to say. You know, what changed for you? What actually brought that change about? If it wasn't the doctor?
No, it really wasn't the doctor, because I thought I was fine. I'm fine. And fine, you know, whenever I say to people, how are you? And they say, I'm fine. I always kind of think, okay, what does that mean? Well, for me, it meant fucked up, irrational, neurotic, and emotional. So I know I shouldn't really swear on your show. Sorry, Sarah.
That's fine. I just ticked the explicit box.
That's what fine meant to me. Yeah. I really was not fine. I was in a real mess. I was completely irrational. I had no idea. My life had completely spun out of control. It was totally unmanageable by the end. I was neurotic about everything. I mean, I had to be neurotic about everything just to function. And I was hugely emotional, lots of anger, lots of, real highs and lows of emotion, going from the high of partying and having a great time to the lows of hangovers and come downs and the depression that comes
the reality of what the experience you were living.
Yeah, just horrific, just dragging myself through each day. And I didn't want to live. And I think the turning point was when I just kind of woke up one day and thought, I don't want to live anymore. I'm done. I'm finished with this. This is not what I thought life was going to be. I felt emotionally painful. I felt physically in pain. My head was full of absolute nonsense, and I just didn't want to live. But there was this little voice inside my head that did want to live. There was something within me that knew there was more to life than this, and I just didn't know how to get there. And then, you know, there's that saying, isn't there? Heal thyself. Yes. And I thought, I've got all this knowledge. I've got counselling and psychology and acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine and all these healing modalities. Why am I not applying any of this to my own life? What is going on? It was like I had all this information, but I just wasn't using any of it. I wasn't applying any of it to my own life at all.
And did you recognise why you wasn't applying it to your life?
I think I was just in so much pain, emotionally and physically, and just wasn't thinking straight. I think I wanted a quick fix. I wanted to be out of pain right now. And for a long time, drugs and alcohol definitely took me out of that pain place. That they helped me to feel calm, confident. You know, it helped me to be, you know, a good singer at a karaoke, maybe a good dancer in a disco, maybe not. But it gave me the confidence to speak to people when I didn't feel like I could. It helped me to feel like, it stopped me from feeling alone when I was by myself. You know, it was like I joke about it, like being the bad boyfriend. You know, I protected it feistily, but there was definitely some benefits. But then
because we don't do these things unless there's some secondary benefit to it, even if we know that it's not, in some way it's not helpful, in some way it's destructive. The thing that feels good about it is what keeps us in it. So when you were realizing that, like, you've got all of these skills, you've got all of this knowledge, there's all this stuff that you want to do, you could do for yourself, but you're using the quick fix, you're using all the other stuff, then you've hit that stage of like, actually I don't want this anymore. And that little voice kind of came up for you. What was that? Where was that little voice taking you?
I was at a crossroads, and I knew I had to change or I was going to die. And I knew I had all this knowledge and all these skills, so I knew I had to choose to apply some of those to my life. But I also knew that I needed help, because I hadn't successfully managed to apply any of this knowledge to my life by myself. And I needed to ask for help, and asking for help was actually the hardest part. I had to get humble, Sarah, and I had to say, do you know what, I can't do this by myself, I need help. So I asked for help, and I got it. I got the help I needed. I asked for help from God, and I got into praying, and that was really helpful. I asked for help from colleagues, from friends. I went to rehabilitation groups. I went to rehab, and I asked for help, and I got help. But what gave me the deeper, what enabled me to have the deeper levels of healing, to heal the pain of the past that was causing me to reach for the numbing out solutions, that was hypnotherapy.
Yeah,
that was what hypnotherapy did for me. It took me from negative to positive. It took me from anxious to calm. It took me from a raging alcoholic to somebody who just doesn't desire that in my life at all. It took me from somebody who reached for medications and pain medications to somebody that doesn't need it. It helped send my HS into remission. It helped to heal my sight, and it's helping right now to heal my heart as well, because I obviously, with all the abuse I did to myself years ago, I have a few heart problems as well. I've had a few heart problems, and now I'm doing mixed martial arts on a daily basis, and I'm walking and running, and I'm fitter physically, and I've gone from a size 28 to about an 18, kind of 16, 18 now, depending on where I shop. But do you know what? I wake up in the morning and I am happy, and I'm glad to be alive. And even on very kind of tough days, difficult days, I love my life. I don't wake up and wish I was dead.
And that comes out in everything that I've experienced of you, like listening to your podcast, watching like the stuff that you share on the social media. It really comes out, and it's not in that kind of like Instagram perfect, like, oh, look at my amazing life, like nothing ever goes wrong. It's in that real kind of, I'm living my best life, and I'm experiencing the pain that goes on, and I'm experiencing the pleasure of truly enjoying the things that I connect with and the things that I do. And like, if people listen to the radio show and the podcast, like you talk to people, and when I came on, it was such a wonderful experience of feeling that joy and that warmth and that love that you put out into the world. And it was one of my first podcast experiences, and I came away from that feeling like, wow, I did so good. And really, like you
your show was
helped
amazing.
me with that. And it was beautiful. And it was like, and I really see that coming to you as a client, or coming to you to learn things, like that is who you are now. That is where you're at now. And you,
and it's just been 5 years.
Drag everyone along into that joyful place with you.
It's only 5 years this year since I got clean and sober. So this transformation has been fast. This change has been dramatic. And I do sometimes go, wow, this is my life. It's amazing. And I love it. But what I really want to do is I want to share these powerful tools and techniques that we use, Sarah, because they do help you to stop smoking. They do help you to get free of drugs. It does reduce pain. It does help with weight management. It helps you to change your mindset. Those powerful conversations that we have with our subconscious impact our bodies, impact us on a cellular level. And I want to teach people these tools and techniques. I spent years and years studying, learning all this stuff. It's time now to share what I know works, what I believe works, what I know works, because I've experienced it.
Yeah, you've lived it. You know,
I'm it. I'm living proof. I couldn't do it if I didn't believe in it so much.
And that's like the same with the stuff I do. It's like, because it's helped me manage like my health stuff and heal from past experiences and kind of work through. And it is like, when we've talked before, like sometimes you think like breathe in, we all breathe, but when we breathe in a conscious way, it makes such a difference. The hypnotherapy, using that tool to encourage our minds to think in a different way and tap into other stuff, it's so powerful. One of the things I share all the time is like, if we can imagine all the terrible things that can happen to our lives, like that stop and it stops us doing things. So if we can imagine all the amazing things that we can have in our life, we open that doorway, don't we? We open that possibility to ourselves. And I know, like, you're so passionate about sharing the tools with people. So do you want to talk a little bit about the school and how you help people learn?
I'd love to. So, obviously I want to prepare really good quality therapists so that we can help people, because we're in a time, aren't we, where there's a real sort of, the real pandemic is mental well-being at the moment. Our services are not able to support people. And I used to say our services do the best that they can, and they do the best that they can. But my experiences of late are that they abandon people who are suicidal. And they do nothing but provide medication for people, which is like putting a very small plaster on a massive gaping wound. They are not equipped at the moment. They are short-staffed. They are overrun. They are demoralised. I'd like to support NHS staff, really, but I really feel that we're in this. The real pandemic right now is mental well-being. People are struggling. People are struggling with confidence. People are struggling with anxiety. The amount of people who've struggled, lockdown was tough for people, but coming out of lockdown has been a lot scarier for people than what I expected. A lot of people haven't come out and gone freedom. They've come out and they've gone, oh my God, I'm really scared. You're a person, and I'm scared of people. I'm scared of places. I've got to go to work, and I'm scared of that. I've got to do a presentation, and I'm already anxious, and I'm anxious about the presentation, but I'm doubly anxious now, and everything just seems to be more enhanced, more like they've turned up the volume almost on
what I've found is people have really thrived with this working from home and being able to set their life up in a way that actually supports their health differently, and so now having to go back to work in an environment that they've got to travel, they've got to maybe be around people that they don't particularly want to be around, and they can't manage their life in a way that has worked for them. It's now we've had this, it wasn't ideal, lockdown wasn't ideal,
definitely
but
not.
For some people it enabled them to realize that life wasn't working the way it was before.
Yes.
And now they don't want to go back to the life that they were in, but they can't, they don't have the tools, they don't know where to go to change it.
Yeah, absolutely. So clinical hypnotherapy provides so many solutions to so many challenges with physical and mental well-being, and there's just such a need. And I just felt like I literally couldn't see any more clients in my week. It was my calendar was very full, and I'm sure you're the same. And I just thought we need more really good quality therapists out there. We need people who can really, who are very well educated, who can genuinely help and support people. Those people who've got a heart, to a passion to heal, to help, to support, to help people transform. Then my training course is really for you. And I offer a foundation weekend, which is like a dip your toe in the water opportunity. Come and do a couple of days of training with us, do some assessments, do some learning, find out how it is, have a go at inducing trance. That's really good fun when people do that for the first time, like, oh my God, I'm going to put someone in hypnotic trance. Like, yes, you are. And then they get to receive that lovely trance feeling as well on that first weekend. We work on confidence building as well, because whenever you're doing anything new, having a bit of confidence is definitely going to be really helpful. But I've done loads of training, as you know. I've done quite a lot of therapeutic training where I've rocked up and I've paid loads of money to do a course. Then I've not really liked the people who I'm learning with, because they're like, there's always that weird guy at the back who picks his nose, or there's been just somebody who's kind of makes me feel a bit unsure, or I don't feel like I've really gelled, or
it's not the right vibe.
I've thought, do you know what, course material's a bit shabby, or I've just not really thought it was any good. So I wanted to give people the opportunity to meet the teacher, to meet their potential classmates, for us to really get to know them as well, so that we can guide them in the right way, and for them to kind of check out the materials, see what reading resources we provide. Because I've got dyslexia, and actually a couple of my teachers have as well, we have everything in audio format and video format, as well as it, and everything is kind of as accessible as we can make it, and we're always looking to continue to improve that. And that's my job as director of studies, to make sure that it's all very accessible, and that we are actually teaching the latest, because hypnotherapy is such a dynamic thing.
It changes,
learning stuff all the time. It's amazing. So I get to geek out and learn more and make sure that we're up to date. And anyway, the foundation is an opportunity for you to dip your toe in the water and see if it's for you. And if it is, well, then you can choose to stay on and do our diploma training, which will enable you to become a fully qualified clinical hypnotherapist, and you'll be able to support people like me who struggled with weight, who struggled with anxiety, who struggled with addictions, struggled with low mood. I don't like to use labels, but things like depression, who struggled with confidence, who'd had negative experiences from the past who kind of were still having an impact on life. And of course, my real passion is to support women to have beautiful births. So this year, I've also started to teach students how to become hypnobirthing instructors, hypnobirthing teachers, trainers, because birth is a fairly important part of our lives as babies, but it's a huge important part of our lives as mums, and many people are absolutely terrified of giving birth. It's a very scary thing for a lot of people, and the messages that we put out there are not right healthy. The stuff we see on the TV just involves lots of people lying on their backs and screaming, and I want to really provide a really good education, like what is happening in your body when you are birthing. How can we use hypnotherapy? How can we use this hypnosis that's amazing, and breath work, which is so powerful, to really support mums to have a beautiful birth? And beauty doesn't always, is not always void of discomfort, but you can birth with joy and you can birth with ease, and that is what our program.
So this new program, is that you teaching people to teach, or is it you working with mums expecting babies?
Teaching people. I have been working with mums for a long time, so now
it's the next level.
It's the next level. So now I'm teaching people how to teach it, because it's so important. And this last year has been a bit weird for people giving birth. So I wanted to really empower mums to know what choices they have got, and know their rights, so they know that they are in control of their birth and they can birth in whatever way that they want to, and feel good, feel confident, trust their bodies. And enjoy giving birth. I know people are like, enjoy giving birth. That's not possible. But the feedback that I have from the women that I've worked with is that they actually do feel very strong, very powerful, and actually do really enjoy giving birth.
And it can be such a beautiful experience. I mean, my birth stories are, let's put it this way, I don't share my birth stories with anyone who has not already had their children, because the experience that I had was not the greatest, and I wouldn't want anyone to think that was the normal experience. But as you said, sometimes when you do start to talk about it, there is a very range of experience that we have. So being able to be empowered and to know what you want from your birth experience and be able to communicate that, I think, is so important.
And also, as a part of my course, just sort of reflecting on what you're saying, as part of the Joy in Birthing course, I do actually teach my trainers how to support mums who've had not very nice birthing experiences, who've experienced injury or trauma as a result of the birthing experiences that they've had. I also teach our trainers how to support women who've had loss, be it a loss of a child, a miscarriage, even a termination, because all of those things can negatively impact our expectation of birth. And we know if we think it's going to be awful, if you wake up in the morning and you go, I'm going to have a bad day, guess what? We're going to have a bad day. So if you think your birth is going to be fairly awful, it's probably not going to be very relaxed and lovely.
My first child, I wanted a water bath. I wasn't having any drugs. I wanted it to be like what I think your
lovely
course
idea
helps with, like that is what I wanted. My body had different ideas, and I had to have medical intervention,
and
of
absolutely.
course sticks and stays and it impacts, because then consequently the next child, it was like that wasn't a possibility for me. And so I had to grieve that experience, that, you know, I was use the terry toweling nappy mum that's where I was, and it just was very different. So I think something like this, like if you don't have to have a medical intervention and you can tap in, I think it's just amazing, isn't it? So
and if you do have to have a medical intervention, let's understand what that medical intervention is going to do, and let's use our hypnotherapy techniques, let's use our breath work, let's use our knowledge and what we know helps. Let's use that and apply that maybe slightly differently, so that we can work with the medication, so we can work with what's going on. Because, you know, my background is very Western, and I have worked in maternity, in hospitals, and I've seen these lovely women who want to their babies into the world and have a lovely water birth, and they get there and they go, oh, and then they get scared because, you know, it's not exactly what they expected. So I like to prepare. I always think it's like preparing for a marathon. My training helps mums to prepare for whatever way their baby chooses to come into this world. It enables you to listen to your body, to know what your body needs, and to go with whatever happens, whether you have an induction, whether you end up having a cesarean, whether you struggle with, you know, towards the end of your pregnancy, and like, just get this baby out of me now. Whatever, you know, birth you have, whatever route that takes. The Joy in Birthing, it's an education, it's a birthing education program, as well as
hypnobirthing. So powerful. That sounds so I mean, I'm past that stage, but it's like, if that definitely would be the kind of thing I would want to tap into, especially given my experiences, to be able to have the ability to, I want to say control, but that's not the word. I don't think that's the word that I want. To impact my experience within what had to happen feels like a very powerful tool to have had. And I think would have, like, for me, or people like that, it would perhaps have experienced some of the stuff I experienced, to be able to, I'm going to use the word control because I can't think of any other word. So if you have got
control is a good word. Control is a good word.
That even if, because I don't want to really share all my stuff, but even if all of this other stuff is going on around you, you know that you've got these tools that you can bring in to retain some control of the experience that you're having, and
I think retain absolute control and feel calm and feel like you're choosing. When you feel like you're choosing, and when you feel confident, and when you feel calm, and when you do have that sense of control, wow, things just, you know,
all the other stuff, it doesn't matter.
You get through the stuff that's happening.
Amazing,
so we can,
powerful.
It's really exciting. I'm really excited about it, because super duper.
I am noticing the time, so we are like overrunning. But do you want to quickly talk about the book? Because it's so important that people know how they can get hold of you.
It's called Stories of Truth and Triumph. It's a collaboration. It's to help raise money for Megan's Space, which is a charity that supports teenagers, young adults who are having mental health challenges. Megan was, I believe, 21 when she took her own life. She chose suicide to end her life. And many young people nowadays, in fact, it's 18 to 20 young people every week are choosing suicide. And that is unnecessary death. Those are unnecessary deaths as far as I'm concerned. And it's because there's no support for young people. They get medication, they get sent away. You might see a counsellor in 6 months. Megan's Space will enable young people to get access to therapy more or less straight away. But not only do they provide therapy, they provide like a roadmap of coaching and support and tools, and hypnotherapy and havening technique and EFT are all very much a part of that. They'll help them to guide them to a future that is quite beautiful and for them, a unique future for them. And I don't think there's anything like that at all. It's an amazing organization. So all the proceeds of the book, Stories of Truth and Triumph, are going towards Megan's Space. And it's my little part of that book is my recovery story. It's the bit where things had got really bad and what I did that enabled me to get on this healing journey. So yeah,
I will pop some links in the show notes, and when it goes
thank
out
you
on
so
the
much.
social media, I'll pop some links to where people can get in touch with you, and where they can buy the book and the things, because it's so I think it's so important, and we've talked about so many things today.
It's £1.11, Sarah, for the book.
You that's
so please buy it. Please
yeah.
buy it.
But I'll put the link. Like if you're listening, watching, and you're not seeing it in the show notes, come on to like the Facebook page or the Instagram, and you'll find the details and how to kind of get into it. I'm gonna bring it to a close now, if it feels okay. Is there anything you kind of want to leave people listening with?
Yeah, I was doing a little meditation this morning, and this was my meditation. It just feels relevant. So it was, every situation in your life is a learning experience. That learning experience has been created by your soul to teach you how you can gain more love in your life and gain more power. So every situation, good situations, bad situations, whatever situation you're in today, it's a learning experience that's been created by your soul. And I just thought, yeah, I love that. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and speaking to me. It's been wonderful. I mean, I wish I could do this every week. And I'm definitely having you back next year, whether you want to come or not.
Yeah,
so, thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, and the things that are going on for you that other people can get involved with to help them heal and spread the joy out to others.
Just ask for help. Ask for help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone that's listening. I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. I'd love to hear your feedback. To find out more about me and my guests, visit srtt.co.uk and follow at SRTT Podcast on social media. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.